How's it going, guys? Zach with Grand Teton Harley here, and this is the 2022 Harley-Davidson Nightster. This sweet little rig right here runs on a 975T Revolution Max engine, comes in around 481 pounds. It's got 90 horsepower, 75 foot-pounds of torque. And we got an entire spec video on the channel here, so go over there to get all the specs and stuff. I'm here, as promised, to give you a ride review. We just got this thing in, and we're going to take it out, we're going to cruise it around, we're going to check out ride modes, I'm going to show you how this gas tank situation works, and nothing to do but do it. Let's ride this thing. So this bike is actually one of our owners, Mary. This is her personal bike. So we get to ride a brand new one, put a couple miles on, which is pretty awesome. So thank you, Mary, for that. And the cool thing is Mary is 5'4". When Mary sits on this bike, she's flat-footed. So great bike for smaller riders. You know, that Iron 1200 is gone now in the Harley lineup, at least for now. So this is definitely more of a Iron 1200-ish type bike. I'm not going to call that a replacement because it's definitely not. But yeah, that's one of the first things that you're going to notice. Now, I'm 5'11", and I fit on this thing also just fine. I feel like my arms are in a good place. I don't feel like my legs are kinked up at all. So, you know, something right out of the gate that I think is important to note. Now, the other thing that you're going to notice immediately getting on this bike is it has a very low center of gravity. I mean, this thing just feels flickable. And the reason for that, as you may or may not know, is this is not a gas tank. This is actually just a metal airbox cover, and the gas tank is under the seat. And we'll be taking a look at that in just a little while on how you actually access the gas tank, because to be honest, when I first got it, I wasn't quite sure. It wasn't immediately obvious. So I'll show you guys how that works here in a little while. But yeah, that is, when I first got this bike, I mean, at 481 pounds, 975, cc bike, man. It definitely goes. And that's something with the Revolution Max engines, these, especially, this brand new liquid cooled Revolution Max engine, is every single one of them that I have ridden rips. The Sportster S rips, and should we be calling that a Sportster or not a Sportster? I mean, fine, they put the sport back in Sportster. It's definitely more of a sports bike, but that thing goes. The Pan America, that thing goes. But I'll tell you one thing that the Nightster has that those two do not, and that's a sound, right? This doesn't have kind of that. I mean, really, guys, the best way you can explain that Pan Am and that Sportster S is it's a stock, at least. It's kind of a sewing machine, But, you can hear here. The Nightster definitely has a little bit more of that Harley sound that, we've been missing on these Revolution Max engines. So that's something that's kind of exciting. Now, this is all completely stock, so you are hearing the bike stock right now. And that's one thing that when we were originally looking at Nightster stuff that we were finding kind of hard to find was just the stock sound of the thing. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what this bike sounds like stock. And I've ridden every single Revolution Max engine so far, and this is by far the one that has kind of the most growl to it, I guess we could call it. Now, something else that I really am liking about this bike, cruising around a little bit here, is I really like the display. The analog with the digital mix, you can change up what the digital feeds you. So you just hit this little button over here on the left, and you can actually just change up what it tells you about the bike and that type of thing. You get your gas, you can have the time, you get your directions, and then you get a nice, easy-to-read speedometer, which I really, really like. Something's easy to read. It's easy to know exactly where you're at. I think that's probably, that and gas are the two most important things that I look at when I'm riding a bike. Is, okay, what is the gas level and how fast am I going? We'll get into traffic here. Oh, this guy's spitting some. Oh, this is a good test for the old Nightster. See how much we can rip around this guy. Woo-hoo! We're going to cut her close. Here we go. Well, can't say the 975 doesn't move. There's a great example for you right there. Stuck behind a truck spitting gravel in my face. There was no problem getting up and around that thing, that's for sure. Now, something else that's really cool about the Nightster is this is the lowest priced bike in the Harley lineup currently that offers ride modes. So over here on the right, you'll see that there's a little mode indicator. And then right here underneath the fuel gauge, you'll see what mode we're in. So of course we're in sport mode because, you know, we want to feel what the bike feels like, right? We want to really take her out for a spin. But just to show you guys kind of how the modes work, you can actually change them while in process, while you're riding. So let's say, you know, the road starts to get a little wet and I get a little worried. I want a little more control under the bike, a little less throttle response. Then I can let off the throttle and go to mode. And you'll see this right here, rain mode now. And it makes a big difference. I mean, look at me on this. You see the lag in acceleration, and that's what you want in rain mode. That's not a bad thing. But I mean, that's one really cool thing about the modes on the Pan America and the modes here on the Nightster that I'm seeing is the modes really do make a difference. You know, and rain mode engages a bunch of other things. It's not just throttle response. And then we can go from rain mode, which is also a great beginner mode. I mean, that's the other thing, right? Sportsters are classically beginner bikes, right? It's kind of, you know, your first bike. This is a 975, not an 883. And, you know, the rain mode is a great way to get a new rider on and not make that throttle too twitchy for it. Now, if we want to change out of rain mode, all we got to do is let off the throttle, hit our mode selector, and it's going to flash. Now that it's solid, now we're in road mode. And now you can see here, right? Little more throttle response, right? So road mode's going to open us up a little bit, take the training wheels off. To be honest, for me personally, I can see the advantage of the rain mode. I can see the advantage of the sport mode. And for me, road mode is just, you know, I'm an experienced rider. If I'm going to have somebody new that's riding, you know, the rain mode would probably be what I'd put them in. Road mode for me is, it's cool, it's there, but it's not super essential for me personally, but could be a great stepping stone for somebody who doesn't feel like they're ready for sport mode, right? And then, you know, finally, we'll let off here and we'll get into big boy mode. Let it flash, go solid, there we are. And now we're in sport mode. Now let me show you the throttle here. Big difference in throttle response. I mean, even just from road to sport, you can really feel the difference coming into it. Now, I mentioned with this bike that it is one of the, it is the lowest cost Harley-Davidson that allows for these ride modes with that new Revolution Max engine. And, you know, I've seen a lot of comments about, oh, well, you know, this bike at this price or this bike at that price. And, you know, you compare specs on a page, and it's possible that some of those bikes might come out on top. Like, that is 100% possible. But I will tell you this Revolution Max engine has surprised me a ton. So we're actually looking to see if we can't get our hands on a couple bikes. I think we're looking at maybe a Scout 60, I think, and a Honda Rebel. And we're going to try to do a little shootout with these bikes because, to be honest, when I look at them on paper, the Nightster looks like it probably will come out on top. But there's no way to know till you get all the bikes down and around. That's one thing I want to say, too, about this bike is I owned and rode an Iron 1200, and right out of the gate, this Nightster is a lot more comfortable. And don't get me wrong, I loved my little Sporty. It was a great little bike, and that 1200 was a lot of fun. But I can tell you right now, this Nightster is more comfortable. At high speed, I do not feel like I'm peeling off, which I did on my Iron 1200 stock. I mean, that was one of the first things I did, was put a brand new seat on that thing. And I can tell you right now too, this thing gets up and she goes a lot faster than that Iron 1200 did. Now, it doesn't have quite the same rumble, of course, and you know, top speed might be a little bit different. Speedo says we can go 130, but you know, we'll stay within the speed limit here while we do our little test for YouTube. Might have to take her for a spin afterwards to see what she'll do. Yeah, controls feel really comfortable. One thing I did notice is that the clutch is a little long in the tooth. Probably just an adjustment that we can do. Again, this bike has like 16 miles on it, so definitely has not been dialed into the rider, and definitely has not been dialed into me because this isn't my bike. And I'm borrowing it from Mary, one of our owners, so she was really sweet to let us borrow it. But, I mean, here we are cruising 80, 85 on the highway. Again, I don't feel like I'm getting peeled off the bike. On my 1200, I felt like I was getting peeled off the bike. And I want to be clear, this is not an Iron 1200 replacement, but it kind of falls in the same area for what Harley is currently offering in that Sportster lineup. So, you know, going about 80 or so, let's see. I mean, there is plenty on the top end, even at these high, you know, West Coast highway speeds. plenty on the top end to get you up and around, whatever you need to do. Oh yeah, that just feels great. This is exactly what I was anticipating from, I'll adjust our mirror a little bit here. There we go. This is exactly what I was anticipating from the Nightster. You know, there was a lot of people speculating in videos, and that's exactly why we wanted to get out and ride it, because you never really know a bike from a piece of paper, right? You can say one thing, you can think one thing, but I was anticipating this bike would just be a great entry-level jump on it and go bike. Now, when I say entry-level, I mean that within the sportster category that Harley is currently offering. Now, let's be clear, right? The price tag on this, you know, I think it comes in right somewhere around $13.80 is MSRP. And just so you guys know, at Grand Teton Harley-Davidson, we keep the sticker price. I know a lot of dealerships around the country are currently jacking that up, but as it stands, as of this video, we're making internal decisions to make sure that we can keep these bikes, these new bikes, priced right where they should be, right where they're being advertised at. But anyways, coming in right around $13.80, $13.90, whatever it is definitely more expensive than, you know, that $10,000 big iron that I bought. But I also will say it's a lot more comfortable. It's got a lot more oomph to it. It's got the ride modes. And like, I'm feeling good on this thing. Feeling stretched out. Feeling good. Now we're gonna just cruise it here on the highway for a bit and turn around and head back. And I'm gonna show you guys when we stop up here, I'm gonna show you guys how this gas tank works, because that was something that was not immediately obvious to me. I actually had to look it up. And to be honest, if I had paid more than 3 seconds of attention, I would have figured it out. But you know, who wants to read the instructions when I got YouTube, right? So we're gonna cruise up here real quick, and I'm gonna pull over and I'll give you guys a POV on this gas tank situation. All right, man, that was a ton of fun. Like I said, exactly what I was anticipating from this Nightster. All right, like I said, I wanted to show you guys a quick POV of the gas situation on this. So let's grab, okay, so you get your fob as per usual with a lot of Harley-Davidsons, and then you get a set of keys. You do have to carry the fob and the key, because this is how you get into your gas tank. So just like that. So you've got a lock right here on the side. Key goes in, turn the lock, open up, and then you have your fuel tank underneath. And again, that's what gives this bike that really fun, flickable weight to it. Just really low center of gravity. It feels great. Now, with this, I think this is something you have to get used to, because I'm used to pulling up to a gas pump, grabbing it, popping it in here, of course, and sometimes I don't even get off the bike. Half the time, I don't even get off the bike. But the other thing to notice with this is that you're really going to have to think about getting off the bike. You're going to have to think about placing your key, right, and then pulling this open. So, and you do have to, the key does not stay unlocked. So even with the key in, I'm locked, right? So that'll be something to consider, you know, just have to walk around the bike to fuel it up or whatever it is. But that is how the gas tank works. I thought you guys would like to see that, because I know it was something that I was interested in. Now, I just kind of went on a little 15, 20 mile cruise on this thing. So, you know, take this review with that in mind. But I can say for sure that instantly out of the gate, this rides way nicer than my Iron 1200 did. Way more comfortable at highway speeds. And that 975 rips. There's a lot of people that are worried about that number, but I don't think they realize this is liquid cooled, variable valve timing. I mean, this is a lot of engine, 90 horsepower, 75 pounds of torque on a frame that's 481 pounds. So I'm pretty excited about that. Pretty stoked that Harley has this Nightster out. And like I said, I think we're going to look for a couple bikes, try to do a shootout with this thing, because I think the Nightster might be a little more special than people are letting on it, at least currently. I think this one's going to catch on. I think people are going to be really stoked about it. Thanks, guys, for watching this video. If you dig this type of stuff, make sure to subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell, you know, all the YouTube stuff. We're going to do a ton more ride reviews, especially now that we got all this beautiful weather. And, you know, if you get a chance, get out and try one of these Nightsters, because they are a ton of fun.